Welcome to Capitol Catch-Up, your deep dive into the latest action from the halls of Congress. I am Victor.
And I am Lainey. Today, we are unpacking a major wave of legislative proposals, ranging from federal budget planning to healthcare access, national security, and even transportation safety.
Let us start with how the government plans to fund itself. Congress is looking at both the short-term and the long-term. On the long-term side, we have House Concurrent Resolution 113. This establishes the federal budget framework for fiscal year 2027 and sets out projected budgetary levels all the way through 2036.
That is a 10-year outlook, Victor. It outlines specific fiscal targets for federal revenues, budget authority, outlays, and deficits. It also breaks down spending across major functional categories like national defense, health, Medicare, and veterans benefits. Plus, it includes provisions for legislative reconciliation, reserve funds, and administrative enforcement mechanisms to manage federal debt. Essentially, it is a decade-long fiscal roadmap.
But while they are planning for the next 10 years, they also have to handle the immediate future. That brings us to House Resolution 9770, also known as the Continuing Appropriations Act 2027. This is a classic stopgap funding measure, a tool Congress uses to keep government operations running when permanent appropriations bills are not yet passed.
Exactly. House Resolution 9770 keeps the government open through December 4, 2026 by maintaining temporary funding at fiscal year 2026 levels. This prevents government shutdowns and ensures the continuity of essential projects, mandatory payments, and agency activities. It has specific rules to manage personnel compensation so federal workers do not face furloughs. It also authorizes funding for critical areas like wildfire suppression, disaster relief, the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, which we know as WIC, and Small Business Administration loans.
And to keep things fair, the Act explicitly freezes cost of living adjustments for members of Congress while it is in effect, and mandates payments to the survivors of late members of Congress. It is all about administrative continuity.
Speaking of travel and administrative procedures, let us look at air travel. House Resolution 9388 is the One-Stop Pilot Program Extension Act. This bill aims to streamline international travel by extending a security program that allows passengers and their checked baggage to bypass redundant TSA rescreening when they arrive in the United States.
That sounds like a huge time saver for international travelers. How does it maintain security?
It amends the James M. Inhofe National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023 to extend the program from 6 to 10 years. But there are strict conditions. Foreign departure points must use advanced explosives detection systems, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection must continuously monitor the baggage. So it is efficiency paired with rigorous security.
On the topic of international relations, defense export policies are also getting a look. We have two closely related bills here. First is House Resolution 4215, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations Licensing Reform Act. This is designed to speed up the defense export process by setting fixed timelines. The Secretary of State would have to identify priority countries and critical end users, establishing a 45-day decision window for those priority cases and a 60-day window for all other export applications. To keep things transparent, the State Department must submit annual lists of these priority partners to Congress and report semi-annually on any missed deadlines.
Right, and the second one is House Resolution 4233, the Armor Act. This one focuses on strengthening defense cooperation among the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom, and it actually adds Canada to this streamlined framework. It expands expedited export license reviews to cover activities like re-exports, retransfers, and brokering. It also requires regular reporting to Congress, mandates periodic reviews of the excluded technologies list to keep restrictions minimal, and simplifies congressional notification. It is all about removing bureaucratic inefficiencies that slow down collaborative military maintenance.
Now shifting from defense to domestic policy, let us talk about healthcare. There are a few significant bills on this front. Let us start with House Resolution 9737, the Consumer Health Claim Assistance Act. This would amend the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, or ERISA, to create a benefits assistance program within the Department of Labor by January 1, 2027.
This program is designed to help everyday Americans who are struggling to navigate denied health insurance claims or adverse benefit determinations. It helps them understand their rights and file appeals. To fund this, the bill introduces a tiered filing fee structure for single employer welfare benefit plans and mandates annual disclosures to the Secretary of Labor. The goal is to give direct support to employees and increase transparency.
Another healthcare bill targeting a critical issue is House Resolution 9712, the Mama's First Act. This bill addresses the maternal mortality crisis in the United States, particularly focusing on racial and ethnic disparities. It mandates Medicaid coverage for services provided by doulas, midwives, tribal midwives, and lactation support providers, starting January 1, 2027. It also prohibits cost sharing for these services to make culturally congruent, community-based care more accessible.
That could have a massive impact on improving birth outcomes and reducing unnecessary medical interventions. Meanwhile, for Americans who rely on mobility assistance, House Resolution 1703, the Choices for Increased Mobility Act of 2026, aims to modernize Medicare payment rules for ultra-lightweight manual wheelchairs. Starting in 2028, the Secretary of Health and Human Services would have to create separate billing codes, known as HCPCS codes, for wheelchairs made with titanium or carbon fiber compared to other materials. This lets suppliers charge patients the price difference for these high-performance materials, but it requires clear disclosures so patients know their out-of-pocket costs beforehand.
We also have a very interesting transportation bill, House Resolution 9711, the Autocycle Safety Act. This aims to regulate autocycles, which are three-wheeled vehicles with enclosed cabins and steering wheels. Right now, they fall into a regulatory gap between motorcycles and passenger cars. This bill would mandate safety features like steering wheel airbags, anti-lock brakes, and electronic stability control, and gives the Secretary of Transportation 3 years to finalize comprehensive safety rules.
That is a crucial step for safety, as these unique vehicles become more common. Now let us turn to immigration and national identity. House Resolution 9742 is the English Language Proficiency Act. It proposes a stricter standard for U.S. naturalization by eliminating existing exceptions that allow some citizenship applicants to bypass requirements for English language proficiency and knowledge of U.S. history and government.
Along similar lines, House Resolution 9710, the Third World Immigration Moratorium Act, proposes a broad temporary ban on entry for nationals from 40 specifically designated countries and individuals with Palestinian Authority travel documents. It does provide exceptions for lawful permanent residents, certain diplomats, athletes in major international sports events, and those facing religious or ethnic persecution in Iran. The Secretary of Homeland Security would have waiver authority for national interests, with biannual reports sent to Congress.
On the social and cultural side, we also have House Resolution 563, which expresses support for designating July as American Pride Month. It celebrates the nation's history, achievements, and patriots, emphasizing the teaching of American exceptionalism and honoring milestones from the American Revolution to the space race and civil rights movement.
Moving to international finance and foreign influence, House Resolution 9713, the No More Debt Relief to China Act, takes a very firm stance. It mandates that the United States withdraw from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank Group, and the Asian Development Bank if those institutions provide debt relief to China. The Secretary of the Treasury would have to oppose these relief efforts, and if the U.S. does withdraw, it would be permanently barred from rejoining.
And to track foreign influence closer to home, House Resolution 9772, the Foreign Funding Transparency Act, would amend the Internal Revenue Code. It requires tax-exempt organizations with significant assets or receipts to disclose the aggregate amount of contributions they receive from foreign nationals, categorized by the donor's country of origin.
Finally, let us look at reproductive health care. House Resolution 9445, the Let Doctors Provide Reproductive Health Care Act, establishes a federal right for healthcare providers to deliver lawful reproductive services like abortion, contraception, and in vitro fertilization without state-level interference. It allows the Attorney General and private parties to sue states that impede access, blocks federal funds from being used for state legal actions against providers, and allocates $80 million for legal assistance and security. It also protects providers from having their professional liability insurance denied.
Before we close, let us look at the official record of congressional activity. The House of Representatives met for a brief administrative session on July 18, 2026, as recorded in Congressional Record, Volume 172, Number 117. They designated a speaker pro tempore, conducted a prayer, and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. But the record also published a detailed report of expenditures for official foreign travel by members and staff during May and June 2026. This includes delegation costs for trips to South Korea, Lithuania, Finland, Sweden, Morocco, Ghana, and Portugal, offering a transparent look at how public funds are spent on international diplomatic missions.
Looking ahead, listeners should watch out for how Congress moves forward with the continuing resolution as the December 4th deadline approaches, and keep an eye on whether the proposed healthcare and immigration reforms gain traction in upcoming committee sessions.
That is all for today's episode of Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.